Hey, it's Kesha, and I make videos that teach you how to access your own keys of wisdom to open more doors within your heart and onto the things that you desire. If that sounds good to you, then please do subscribe. I look forward to having more of you in the community. Welcome and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about dreams. You know, our dream time is a time not only when we can explore some of the things that explore other realms and places in the cosmos and in the energetic cosmos, but it's also a time when our unconscious mind is helping us process the things that we've encountered in our waking life. And there's all sorts of ways of interpreting dreams and in accessing them. But what I want to talk about today is the importance of recalling your dreams. We oftentimes will wake up and we're like, oh man, that was such a good dream. And we want to maybe go back to it or revisit it, or it was teaching us something and we didn't quite get all of the message, so we want to be able to go back into that space. And so I want to give you some tips and ideas about how you can do that. First, it's a matter of conditioning. So if you notice that you wake up with having had a very vivid dream, and you want to be able to access that space again, then something that you can do that's really helpful is to write about your dream as soon as you wake up. Before you've done anything else, before you've brushed your teeth, before you've talked to anybody, if you can help it, writing it down as soon as possible. That's when it's as fresh in your mind. It also sets up this pattern where your mind and body knows that you are looking forward to your dreams, you're looking to recall them, and you're setting up that expectation that you will remember enough to write. The other thing is that when you write down your dreams, you'll notice that you may begin to remember more details than you would have otherwise. So writing it down is very helpful. And you can set that intention when you're going to bed the night before. So you can ask that you have a night of restful and rejuvenating sleep, and that as you do, if there are dreams that your mind wants to show you, to please do and make them vivid and understandable. You can also ask to be taken back to a space of a particular dream. You can ask your dreams to reveal to you questions, or rather answers to questions that you have in your waking life that you haven't gotten resolution on. And you can ask that your dream be specific and related to that particular issue and provide you with the right and proper guidance. And notice all throughout I have said writing your dreams down. And when I say write, I do in fact mean pen to paper, specifically a writing utensil and paper. And the reason is because as we have our dreams and they're happening out there and in the ethers, if you were to speak it, right, so you're bringing it down from the ether and it's coming out of your mouth. So it's a small space that it's traveling, right? And you're going from ether to air. Ether to air, it's still coming down through your brain, it's being processed behind the eyes and it's coming out the mouth. But it's going out into the air. And there's not yet a vessel for it to form within, and so there's no room for it to come into form. Whereas if you're bringing that information down from the ethers through your mind, behind your eyes, thinking about how you would communicate that, so it's moving through this chakra as well, coming down into the physical body and out through your actual hands and fingers as you are writing, and you're putting it onto paper, you're bringing it into form. That longer journey, your dream is collecting power as it moves through all of those processes. There's something that happens in our brains as well. There's a difference in the brain activation between when we think of something or even remember something and speak it versus remembering it and writing it. And so that extra engagement of writing helps, again, to bring that energy down, to help you bring it into form. Now, of course, in our day and age of technology, when I say pen to paper, you're probably thinking, oh, I'll just reach for my phone and put it in my notes. The act of typing, on your phone is not the same as the brain activation that happens when you actually write to form the letters. And I'm sure you've heard about the difference in children's brain and cognitive development when we went from a system of teaching children how to write in cursive versus always printing. And a similar thing is happening in that case. So while I can understand certainly the convenience of, I'm just going to wake up, pick up my phone, and just start typing in my notes, you're not quite accessing that same amount of creative power that you would have if you were physically writing it in words. The other thing you might do then is use dictation in your notes app to record your thoughts. And again, even though you're getting the words onto paper, it's still the same ether to air transaction. And again, that's not as strong and solid as ether through the body, out through the hands and fingers and onto paper. So while I do understand the convenience of picking up the phone and typing in the notes, or picking up the phone and speaking to it for dictation, it's the amount of power that you lose from that shortcut is analogous to the amount of power that you lose in being able to bring into form those ideas. So pen to paper. Besides, you shouldn't be having your phone in your bedroom, and certainly not next to your head, right? We all know about the electromagnetic fields released by your phone and how that can interfere with your sleep patterns. So another reason to keep the phone in another room and just have the pen and paper by your bed. And if you think about it, for instance, if I were to tell someone a story and then a week later tell it, how much in the details have I potentially missed from just telling the story, right? As opposed to if I had written that story down and was reading it, I've got even more details, even more richness to share. It's that same power. So I had some notes here. What's that one? Okay, and then there might be the question, oh, what if I don't have the ability to write? Then within the parameters of your ability, how you would get that information from the ethers onto paper would be strengthened by the parameters that you've already set up, those energetic grooves that you've already created. So if writing isn't within your capacity, however you are translating words from your mind onto paper or into another form, then it'd be strengthened by you having already sown those grooves because you've generated a pattern within your abilities. So no one's being left out here. There's where do I want to go with that? There is a difference between, I think, I can do something versus I'm choosing not to. So depending on how seriously you want to take the endeavor, that's going to be the difference in whether or not, you picking up your phone or using the pen and paper. So enough about that. How do we interpret our dreams is probably the next thing, because everybody wants to know, what does that dream mean? And there are a couple of different, or not just a couple, there are many different conventions in terms of how we might choose to interpret our dreams. What's important, whatever convention you choose, is to stick with that one, at least until you've developed enough of a pattern and understanding of what you're seeing, and then seeing it play out in your day-to-day physical world, so that you know what your convention is and that it's working. So yeah, just the choice and consistency of staying with one convention or another. And what do I mean by convention? So you may have heard, well, if I see a car in my dream, the car means this. And then you might look at, okay, so what color was the car? Was it a 2-door or a 4-door? And all of those associations that you have connected to that convention would inform those aspects of the dream. So when I started doing dream interpretation years ago, I was lucky enough to find a really good book by Lady Stern Robinson. I don't remember the title of it now, and I remember I had 2 copies, and they traveled with me through several countries. And I found her interpretations were pretty comprehensive, detailed, and helpful. And so that's why I ended up having 2 copies, and why I kept them for so long and used them for so long. And then I was introduced to this idea that you are every person in your dream, reflected back to you through the different people or aspects of energy that you emit or have attracted or are looking to attract. And so seeing it that way and already interpreting things metaphysically, it made more sense for me to move to a different convention where I just take the elements of my dream and interpret them metaphysically based on how I would interpret anything I was seeing metaphysically. And that became easier for me. And once I changed those conventions, I found actually for me that the information was truer and more tangible, made more sense. There was much less ambiguity, especially in aspects of a dream that maybe weren't covered in her book or were just very specific to me and what I was trying to achieve. And that made sense for me. So again, I just say, pick a convention that makes sense for you and stick with it long enough to understand it, and then decide, if you're introduced to something else, then, if that would work for you, and try that. And I think lastly, the most important thing about dreams that I'd want to share is that they are your subconscious trying to talk to you, either about past events and helping you resolve them, or future events that are coming and giving you insight, warning, and whatever it may be. And the reason that's happening is because as we move through our world, our vibration is interacting with the vibrations of everything else that's around us. Things that we've been calling in, as they're coming in from the ethers, those vibrations are starting to interact with our current vibration. And our subconscious mind may pick up on those vibrations much sooner than our conscious mind would. And so the dreams may be a way for it to reveal to you something that's about to happen, giving you information and foreshadowing, especially if it's to help you avoid an accident or false interaction with a person or something like that. But also you should be preparing yourself accordingly. And so welcoming in that information can be a way to give you a quote-unquote edge as you are navigating yourself forward and you're asking for things to come in. You can have a sense as to when it's going to be meeting you, and the more that you're able to read that, you can get a sense for the timing of when things are going to happen. In that sense, and if you wake with that sense of, I feel like something's about to happen today, or I feel like something's on it, that you can strengthen that faculty that much more by asking your dreams to provide you that information. So there we have it. If you have any questions, certainly leave them in the comment section. I'd be glad to answer. If you want to share some experiences that you've had with your dreams, that's great. I'd love to hear how you're able to, if you notice the difference between when you set the intention the night before and then had a dream, or been able to recall one and step back into that space. That's always interesting to hear from people. So we look forward to your sharing. And I think, my friends, that is all for me on this particular topic at this particular moment. I will be back with something else sometime soon, and I will love you in the meantime. Bye.